for one of the people who has been doing this work so passionately, Dorian De Long, who is a teacher from Adams 12, who is here, who is an incredible advocate for kids and also an incredible example of the people who day in and day out have been fighting to make sure these kids have hope, even in times when it's hard to have it. So I want to say a huge thank you to Dorian and welcome him to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dorian De Long. I'm a high school civics teacher in the Adams 12 school district. And for the past 3 years, I've come down to the Capitol to advocate for in-state tuition on behalf of my students. I had to drop off my daughter, my 7-year-old, a little bit early this morning. And that was being out of our routine. And she asked me what was going on, what was I doing today that was so different. And so I tried to explain to her in the context of what this was all about. And she said to me, "Are you still working on that?" And I told her yes, that we were still fighting to ensure that all of Colorado's high school graduates can afford to go to college. And she said, "Well, hurry up. Everyone should be able to afford to go to college." And I sincerely hope that yes, this is the last time any of us have to be down here fighting on behalf of Colorado's children on this issue. Because years from now, we will have to answer to the generations of Colorado's students that have left our state. It's been difficult to explain to a 7-year-old the full nature of what the asset bill is meant to do, which is to provide access to higher education for all of Colorado's students. But I can only imagine what it must be like for a parent to have to explain to their child that unless we pass this bill, they may have to leave Colorado in order to afford going to college. Over the years, I've pushed my students to engage in a dialogue about civic responsibility, civic engagement, and what it means to be an American. We talk about what it means to take an active role and belong to their community, that actions speak louder than words, that accomplishments mean more than rhetoric, that continuing their education, moving on to higher education, furthering their intellectual development is not just something that strengthens them personally, but makes their community stronger. Every year it continues to be a privilege to work with our students and engage in this ongoing and evolving dialogue. But I've worked with far too many students whose lives have been impacted by this issue. Far too many of them have had their dreams deferred because of our failure to provide them with the opportunity to continue their education beyond high school. I think of these students often and their stories. Coming here today, I was thinking about one of my students who graduated from high school just last year. She's a very bright and talented young artist. She's lived in Colorado since she was 3, and she knows no other home. She has never been to Mexico, nor does she speak Spanish, nor is that relevant. But her options are limited because of her status. She considers herself to not just be an American, but despite Saturday's loss, a dyed-in-the-wool, true blue and orange Bronco fan. Colorado is her home, yet she cannot afford to fulfill her dreams of continuing her study of the arts. Her best friend, who moved from Ohio this summer before their senior year, was able to afford to go to college because after graduation she was eligible for in-state tuition. I wonder what it must be like for her as well, to watch one of her friends lose hope, to achieve so much and then have to watch it slip away just because something is just out of her reach. Out of her reach because of a system that throws up roadblocks. What is it that we're telling our students and our children as educators? This is the message that we send to all of our students from Colorado. Regardless of whether they are documented, undocumented, natural born, this is about our values as a state. Education is important for you, but maybe not you. But in the meantime, go to class and do your best. The asset bill will make sure all qualified high school graduates in Colorado can better afford college. All qualified high school graduates. We are losing the future of Colorado to other states. I've watched some of our top students pack their bags and move to Kansas, Nebraska, New Mexico, Utah. Enough is enough. We have invested in their K-12 education, yet when they graduate from our K-12 system, we reap none of the reward. California, Texas, Washington, they gain the benefits. We have invested in these students' education. We need to continue that investment. Let's make this the last year that we have to have this discussion. Let's make sure that students, like our next speaker, Cecia, Know that Colorado cares about you, your education, and your contribution to our state.